Welcome to the Spirit-Centered Business Podcast, where we blend the spiritual with the practical for supernatural results. Now, here is your host, Bralynn Newby.
Well, hello there. Welcome to Spirit-Centered Business. Look at this. I'm here live with Carolyn and Andy Arnold of No Limits Ranch. We are here on site at No Limits Ranch. This is not a Zoom screen. This is a real log cabin. And look at that awesome, huge chair back there. That's just amazeballs. And you guys have been on the show before, and I've been part of your lives and part of your No Limits Ranch now for a few years. This is our third year. And so I just wanted to invite you back on to talk about what the Lord's doing and what you guys are doing. And this is the setup for the peeps, you guys. This woman is an implementer. The Bralynn Newby quote that I've been quoting for over 11 years is transformation comes from implementation. And so, Carolyn, you're an awesome implementer. You get things done.
Thank you.
So tell us where you are now. And if you guys want to go back and look at the original episodes, go back and look for Carolyn or Andy Arnold. Just do a search in there on spiritcenteredbusiness.com/podcast. There's a search button. So you can see where they were before and now where they've come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you. That's awesome. And I'd love to share because we have come so far in the fact that when the last time you saw us, we lived in Little Rock, Arkansas, and we were building our No Limits art business there. But in all of that, the Lord had given us a dream. And so it was the little by little, step by step that we knew that we were going to be coming back to Pagosa Springs Colorado for more than just a vacation, that we knew in our heart that this would be our home. But, at the time, there wasn't a No Limits Ranch. And so we knew we would get here, but we didn't really know why or how. And then when we met Bralynn, the No Limits Ranch was just underway, and she has been with us since day one, basically, and helping me with stuff that I need someone like her for.
It's been a really fun ride. I'm going to rest on your chair because I feel like
we'll rest together. And so anyway, it was last year we were doing a No Limits Ranch, which is what we would do is we would travel from Little Rock, Arkansas to Pagosa Springs, and I would rent out Elk Trace Ranch bed and breakfast for the whole week for our guests, our staff who would come, and our guests would be our families with kiddos that have disabilities. And so far we've had kiddos with Down syndrome and autism, and they come at no cost to them. So, we would be working for, 6 months then in doing Andy art, some amazing things that we can talk about. Mm-hmm. And that would fund half of like the $20,000 that we would need for a week here to put on the best, most fun event that we knew that was coming out of Father's heart. That when you say implementation, I would just be with Papa, in his heart and get his dreams and his desires. And then I would just do them. And so we have, we've got horses here. So we'd have therapy horses. We did art classes, which we considered art therapy, And so we've got dance classes, dance lessons.
One of my favorites.
And then, we have got like a cooking, baking class. And we just bring in the people that I feel are the best. It's because it's who's Jesus is bringing in to create this family, this unit that is now that we're here, that we have moved. We've literally moved, which was huge. That, my husband and I, we saw that 9 years ago, and now we're here because we have a No Limits Ranch. We know why we're here. We know what we're doing. And so we have gone from 3 acres in Arkansas, which we just didn't utilize because it wasn't ours, to being a part of 100 acres of a working cattle horse ranch bed and breakfast that, by the way, peeps, is dog friendly. So
Very.
elktrace bedandbreakfast.com. Yeah, little
Right.
little commercial there. And
Yep.
so anyway, so we are a part of stewarding the land. We help to steward the business for the owners. Because when you're on 100 acres and you have got cabins that are for rent, you've got horses, you're running a very successful business, you need some help. And that's what we did last October when we came here. We talked with the owner, Evelyn Jones, who's absolutely fantastic. And so we're all family now, and it's so much fun. So one of the things about Evelyn that I love is she loves businesses to be successful. And so we've got a partnership, family relationship, and she wants No Limits Ranch to be successful. And one of the things that she says, and also her husband, Tom, says, I love it when you have a No Limits Ranch because everyone is so happy. And so it's really cool that, we change the atmosphere while we're here and bring who we are.
Yep. Yeah, and I love that Andy what's your job, Andy, here at No Limits Ranch or at Elk Trace?
Yeah. I'm a greeter. I I greet the people, and I always say nice to see you. I'm Andy Arnold, and I did that because I love to greet here up in Limits Ranch, Limits Ranch.
and then you sit down with them at breakfast.
Yeah.
And then it just so happens that the conversation starts about your story.
Yeah.
Like
right.
always.
Yeah.
And No Limits Ranch. And we have had so many people who knew that sitting around, here we are around a table, but around a kitchen table where people, are having an awesome breakfast and just talking, because people that come to bed and breakfast usually like to sit around and talk to people and meet new people. And we've gotten reviews on Expedia that says, we love your place. It's so peaceful. And Andy is amazing. And they go off on Andy. And that just says something about, Jesus in him and what he carries. And so it's just fun.
So this past week, we just did our first conference type retreat. Rather than for the kiddos or the disabled vets, we just brought in some Kingdom peeps who were breaking limits off. And we went into first fruits and covenant and inheritance and did some things around that with Mr. Timothy Benz, who's just amazing. Yeah. And so Andy, what did you do during this last week?
While the speakers were speaking, what were you doing?
I was doing some painting of what they about covenants, about inheritance, and whatever I see, I paint. I'm a painter, and I love being paint. It's fun. I love to talk about my paintings and about what I do. And sometimes I always to share my story and where I was with God.
Awesome. And you also introduced yourself as a coach, right?
Yes.
What kind of coach? Do you want to tell the people?
Yes. I'm a spiritual spirit coach.
Okay.
What's the actual name?
Yeah, a spiritual ignition coach. That's people on fire.
Yes. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yep. So you had some paintings that you did, and you had some words for people, I think, and you prayed. You definitely prayed for the body of Christ, and you prayed for some peeps. You prayed for healing. It was really good, wasn't it?
It was awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Carolyn, you've gotten some testimonies from people who have been here this last week at
Yeah.
this last gathering. You want to
Yeah.
share some of those?
Yeah, I'll share one that, one of the things I love about having a small, intimate retreat like this is relationships. And we had people come, from around the country. And we just have a dear friend come that we have seen on Zoom. And well, most of us know each other from Zoom, but to have the blessing to be able to be together in person. And so one of our guests, one of the biggest things for him was the relationships. So the awesome thing was about, my friend Paul, that when he was here and he was just engaging with everybody and getting to know us more, so that you can do when you're at on site and you're in a smaller gathering, which is what we love to do here. And, sitting down with Timothy Benz and talking with him and just hearing him face to face and then hearing his heart. And like with Bralynn, he only knew of Bralynn from, her show and being on Zooms and whatnot, but then to sit down and talk with her and hear her heart. And he's like, oh my goodness, it was revelatory to him with the people that were here, that it expanded his heart. And just the oneness that came, for him during this event, that, even just the little things that affected people, from the amazing food that we ate, like with him, that was, just the unity that was here and the union, how that impacted his heart. And it was about a hope and a future, and a lot of it was about the land. Well, our heart is land, and so that got expanded for him. And so they were driving all the way back up to northern Idaho, I was getting texts from him and just how this impacted him and how it was hard and how he can't wait, to come back and bring his business team because of what was here and what was started here. So I was very thankful about that. And then I received another one from a woman named Susan, and it was really cool because Tim talked about inheritance. And I've heard him, as we sat at the tables before, when he'd come and see us in Arkansas, which I was so thankful because we knew nobody. And when he would come, it was like, oh my gosh, more than a breath of fresh air. But he would talk with us about inheritance there. So during the retreat, he would talk about inheritance. And so Susan said she understood, and I think this is super important. I think this is the revelation not only Susan got, but I know I did, and I'm still working through it, that why I never felt at home. And Susan said wherever she lived in many different places, she never felt at home because her inheritance wasn't there that God had for her. And so, I remember living for 4 years in Arkansas, and not one day did I feel at home. I said, Father, I feel like I'm sitting on a 3-legged or a 2-legged stool. Something's missing. Yeah. I don't feel connected. Something's not right. And then when we came here, I'm like, I'm home. And that's about, we have God's inheritance here. And I thought that was huge. So for Susan to get that, I loved hearing about that, because then all of a sudden she had peace and rest. Yeah.
And how do you like it here, Andy?
I love it here. I love it. Yeah, back in Arkansas, I had no friends. I have nothing. It's just, but when I came here, I have tons of friends, and I am friends with Tim Betts, Bralynn Newby, and all the guys, and they're my friends and of course they're my family, and I really love about what all they are talking about, and I'm so really involved in that. I'm so thankful but I have friends now.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, you guys have a Sunday night dealio where they all come
do.
together and they've
Mhm.
got a big
Yep.
family
Yeah,
Everyone,
bread.
be together.
yeah, everyone who
together.
lives on the ranch. There's some ranch hands that are here, and there are other people that just reside here temporarily. And
And the people who board their horses here.
yeah, we meet
Yeah.
on Sunday night and we just have a communion together,
Yeah.
and we eat.
Mhm.
And we just get to know each other and we laugh and we have fun, and it's building family. So
Yeah.
when you hear the owner say, we're all family now, that to me is a part of that inheritance that Father has
Mhm.
promised for us. And then the cool thing is that because of the scroll that he has for us and for No Limits Ranch, then we can share it. We can open it up for retreats, conferences, gatherings, and share it with people.
Right, that is so good. So if we were to go back in time and just fill in a gap as far as I know that we did a show about Andy and about the lie busting that we've done with you guys and breaking off limits and being able to step more into who you are. We did a show about that. And then we also did a show about how your oneness with the Lord and like how you remember that one where we actually, it's like, how Carolyn, how do you do this? And so she explained. So if you were to take from that time where you're pressing into the Lord and you got more glimpses of what's on the scroll for yourself and for No Limits Ranch, give us a couple ideas of the things that you got in your God time that led you to like moving here and doing everything that you're doing right now that you just described.
Oh, wow. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I just, in my God time it's like, he just taking that time and getting up extra early. For me, this is how I do it. It's how I operate, where it's quiet and nobody is up. And so I can just go in and, breathe deeply and go into the breath of Yahweh and then just settle into his heart. And in that union, hear and see who he is and who I am and what's in his heart, and that delight that bursts forth in me. And so then these ideas come, and then he gives you the desires of your heart. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he gives you the desire of your heart, and that is just so true. And so in my delight times, in my mornings, I would get up and I'm going, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I'm like, let's carry this out through the whole day, not just this hour, And so in that time, he would speak to me and say, Carolyn, for your anniversary, I want you and Bill to go to Elk Trace and sit down and talk to Evelyn about setting aside a week in October and having your first No Limits Ranch for kiddos with disabilities and their families. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So I told Bill, I'm like, well, what do you think? This is what we're going to do. And, and the money was there. It wasn't hard. And so we did it. We came up here and talked to her and we booked where my faith was. He didn't say book the whole ranch or book two. It's like, where was my faith? And I'm like, well, it's kind of scary. I'd never done anything like that before. And we're talking about raising thousands of dollars and all that kind of thing. And he did tell me one thing. In that quiet time, I saw him, and I saw it in a realm. I saw No Limits Ranch in a realm, and he took his name in gold, Yod He Vav He, and he placed it over No Limits Ranch. And he said, funded. And when he said that, I knew everything that we would ever do that's No Limits Ranch was funded. And I have to remind myself of that, and it's like, well, how do you want to do this? And so, our trip to come up here was, it was funded. It was, we happened to have the money for it. And because we Andy's artwork and the No Limits art business. And so we came up and we set that week. And, Timothy Bentz did a teaching on the Feast of Tabernacles. And that's so him. This was years ago when I first heard it, back when we lived in Fort Worth. And he said the Feast of Tabernacles was taking place in the marketplace. And so I'm like, wow, that has to do with business. It's out in the marketplace and how to bring who you are, everything you are, your being, our No Limits Ranch business, came out of the heart of God. He named it. We didn't name it. He said, go to Pagosa Springs. He chose the place of our inheritance. And now, especially like after this last week, I'm like, wow, just how he named it, how he put his name on us, how he said it's funded, and every step, do this. And it was little by little, step by step, I have shared, to where it's like it all came out of that intimacy with him. And then, so having it at the Feast of Tabernacles on purpose, because during that time, Jesus comes and he meets with his people in a very special way. And so that was my intent and purpose in having it. So now, like this October, the first week of October, we're having it over the Feast of Tabernacles. Next year, I have it set. Maybe one day Jesus will say, well, let's do this, and let's do this date instead of this, and I even remember it was working with you on our website to have No Limits Ranch, and I introduced it during, I like hit the switch, and it started on the Feast of Tabernacles, because for me, that website was a sukkah where we inhabited with Jesus, with our business, and released it out to the people in the marketplace. So that was very special to me. So that came from revelation through Tim, through my quiet time with Jesus, to activate it out in the natural.
Very good. Yeah. Andy, have you had any God time experiences that you've been able to manifest on earth?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Tell us about that.
In my witness with him, I always love to share my testimony, because it means do it again. Just do it again and do it again. Just like it did for me, do it again for this person. In my quiet time with him is so amazing. I love it. I always look and see what is the Father is doing, and he's now finding the No Limits Ranch as well. And
may I just interject? A lot of that comes through the work that you do when you get that from him, and that download from him, and that manifests in the natural.
Mm-hmm, yes. So in my quiet time with him, and then when I do that, I do it through my work, because I love doing art. It's fun. It's awesome. It's always about relationship. It had to have a covenant with him, with the Father. And so I like to talk about covenant, because that is why I have some downloads, visions, and revelations about what I am about to do, and to manifest on the earth. And it's through my work. It is through my paintings. So that's how I get my covenant with him.
May I interject something
Of
that I
course,
see?
yeah.
What Andy is saying is it's so cool because he will take what he gets from God.
Mhm.
And when he engages with the people that come and stay here, like especially over breakfast, or he meets somebody in the afternoon, it's as if, well, not it's as if Holy Spirit will pick the people for Andy to talk with. And this doesn't happen with everybody. This is just particular people. We have a lot of people come through Elk Trace, but he will sit down and talk with them, and they would be extremely intrigued and want to hear his whole story.
Mhm.
So he will tell his testimony. He will tell about God in his life. He will talk about, I'm taking Hebrew classes for Daniel Jedediah Cook, and they're just so intrigued and they're so drawn in. So Andy, and besides his artwork, just being and his boldness and his love, and people will come then to me. Like 2 weeks ago, we had a couple here and they got married here, and they had guests come in from around the nation, and Andy sat down and talked with one of the men, and he was a police officer from like the Kansas City area. And he said, I meet a lot of people out there, and just sitting down and listening to Andy just talk about himself and his story. He said, he's very amazing. He says, Carolyn, do you realize who you have here? And I'm like, yes, I do. And he says, no, do you really realize? And I felt like that was Father saying to me, do you really realize Andy's gifts and talents and where I want to take him? And I'm like, well, evidently, can I think about that a little more? Because it's just Andy being Andy and doing what he loves to do. And that's talk to people.
That's right.
And it just draws people in. And then, it's a perk. You do artwork too.
Is it okay if I can to share my story real quick?
Not real, let's do that in the second segment, okay?
Okay.
Because we're kind of running out of time. We need to land this plane for the first segment, but yeah, we'll do that in the second one, okay?
All right.
So I just want to remind you guys that if you want to trade into what No Limits Ranch is doing, you can go to thenolimitsranch.com, thenolimitsranch.com. And also, if you want to purchase the conference recordings from what we did, they will be available in the next couple of weeks over there on thenolimitsranch.com as well. And you can hear the amazing Mr. Timothy Bent speak, and I did some activation. So I'm all about like, what does this look like on earth, and making sure that we're bringing on earth as it is in heaven. So I'm so glad you guys, we decided to do this, and
Thank you.
we will see you guys in segment 2. Until then, Andy, do you remember what I say at the end of the show?
Yes.
Do you remember what I say? You want to say it?
And you said, "Rock the glory."
Until next time, stay spirit-centered. Peace out. Bye-bye.
Hey there, SCB peeps. I want to give a huge shout out and deep appreciation and thanks to Candace Benton. She has become a super sponsor for the Spirit Centered Business Show. So I would appreciate you helping me in sending blessings and abundance back to her. Thank you so much, Candace, and you are well loved.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Centered Business with Bralynn Newby. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. The next stage of doing business by being spirit-centered is coming together in collaboration, working with spiritual principles and knowing our destiny. Join our tribe at spiritcenteredbusiness.com, and we'll catch you on the next broadcast. Peace out.